Welcome back, everyone. Today, we once again march with Legio IX, a legion forged in the fires of the Republic and tempered by the birth of empire. This is not just the story of battles won or lost. It is the story of endurance, of a legion that carried Rome's banner to the very edge of the known world. Join us as we follow the path of Legio IX Hispana from the ashes of the Republic to the farthest reaches of the empire. After Caesar's assassination in 44 BC, the Ninth Legion was recalled in 41 BC by his adopted son, Octavian, who required experienced troops to end Sextus Pompeius' occupation of Sicily, which threatened Rome's vital grain supply. After defeating Sextus, the legion was sent to the province of Macedonia, where it was likely stationed for much of the civil war. Throughout the conflict, the Ninth remained loyal to Octavian. Later, the legion was deployed to the Balkans, where it earned the honorific title Macedonica in recognition of its distinguished service. After the conclusion of the civil wars, Octavian emerged as the undisputed victor, turning his attention to the distant provinces of Hispania, where the Cantabrian tribes resisted Rome's authority. The Ninth Legion was posted to Hispania Tarraconensis, joining Augustus's prolonged and relentless campaign against the Cantabrians from 26 to 19 BC. Alongside fellow legions, 1st Germanica, 2nd Augusta, 4th Macedonica, 5th Alaudae, 6th Victrix, 10th Gemina, 20th Valeria Victrix, and perhaps 8th Augusta, the 9th fought with distinction and valor. It seems to have particularly distinguished itself during the campaign of 24 BC, a performance that may have earned it the honorific title Hispana, or Hispaniensis. Following its service in Hispania, the Ninth Legion was likely assigned to the imperial army along the Rhine frontier, participating in campaigns against the Germanic tribes during the reign of Octavian around 12 BC. If the legion was indeed transferred to the Rhine, it may have taken part in Drusus operations on the east bank of the river, aimed at securing Roman control over the region. After the catastrophic defeat at the Battle of the Teutoburg Forest in AD 9, which led to the abandonment of the Eastern Rhine territories, the Ninth was relocated to Pannonia, where it continued to serve as a key component of Rome's northern defenses. By the reign of Tiberius, the Ninth Legion was stationed along the Danube, in the frontier city of Siscia, guarding Rome's northern border. But in AD 20, the legion's banner would once again be called to war. Across the sea, in the sun-scorched lands of Africa, a Numidian deserter named Tacfarinas had united the desert tribes against Rome. To aid the hard-pressed Legio III Augusta, detachments of the Ninth Legion were dispatched under Gaius Fulvius. There, amid the dunes and heat, the legion faced humiliation. A cohort broke and fled before the enemy, abandoning their centurion Decrius to death. In fury, the governor Lucius Apronius ordered the ancient punishment of decimation, every 10th man flogged to death before his comrades. Yet from this brutal discipline, the legion's steel was reforged. Under Publius Cornelius Scipio, the Ninth Legion struck back in a lightning campaign that shattered Tacfarinas' forces and drove the rebels deep into the desert. When the sands finally fell silent, Legio IX Hispana returned north, its honor redeemed, its spirit hardened once more. The Ninth Legion's most renowned chapter began with the Roman invasion of Britain in AD 43 under Emperor Claudius. The Roman historian Dio provides the only contemporary account of the invasion, though he does not explicitly name the legions involved. Based on later evidence, however, it is now known that the invading force included 2nd Augusta, 9th Hispana, 14th Gemina, and 20th Valeria Victrix. The Ninth Legion, commanded by Aulus Plautius, formed an integral part of this massive military expedition, contributing to the establishment of Roman control over southern Britain. From the Channel coast near Richborough, the Ninth Legion is believed to have advanced northeast into the Norfolk-Suffolk region. In doing so, the Legion would have had to cross the Medway River, likely still operating alongside Legions 14th Gemina and 20th Valeria Victrix. During this crossing, the Romans encountered stiff resistance from a native force led jointly by Caratacus and Togodumnus. According to the historian Dio, the ensuing battle was fierce and lasted 2 days. Caratacus ultimately escaped the Roman assault and fled to Wales. Following the crossing of the Medway, the Ninth Legion appears to have advanced into the territory of the Iceni, a client kingdom in Norfolk under the rule of King Prasutagus, where the Romans encountered a more friendly reception. Archaeological evidence places Legio IX at a fortress in Lindum, modern Lincoln, around AD 66. Prior to this, its most likely bases were Longthorpe in Cambridgeshire and Newton-on-Trent in Nottinghamshire, both vexillation fortresses, temporary forts used by small detachments of the Legion. This suggests that Legio IX may have been split into smaller units to monitor and control the still unpacified tribes of eastern England. These forts remained in use until about AD 66, when the Legion moved further north. However, before this relocation, the Legion and the province would suffer a major setback. In AD 60, the death of King Prasutagus of the Iceni left no male heir. To protect his kingdom, he named Queen Boudicca, his two daughters, and the Roman emperor as co-heirs, a common practice for rulers without a male successor. However, Roman officials, notably Procurator Catus Decianus and Seneca the Younger, exploited this situation. They seized Iceni property, demanded enforcement by the Roman army, and treated the royal family as if they were prisoners of war. Queen Boudicca was flogged, her daughters assaulted, and the Iceni nobility were stripped of their estates and reduced to slavery. Outraged by these abuses and fearing further oppression as their kingdom had effectively become a Roman province, Boudicca and the Iceni rose in rebellion. They successfully incited the Trinovantes and other neighboring tribes to join their cause. At the outbreak of the revolt, most of the Roman army in Britain was away on campaign in Wales, under the command of Governor Gaius Suetonius Paulinus. The only legion immediately available to respond to Boudicca's revolt was a detachment of Legio IX, under the command of Petilius Cerealis. The challenge for Cerealis was that the legion was dispersed throughout the region. In addition to the vexillation fortress at Longthorpe in Cambridgeshire, elements of the 9th Legion were stationed at Newton-on-Trent and Lindum, modern Lincoln. As a result, Cerealis likely had immediate access to only about a third of the legion, approximately 3,000 men. Leaving a small force to garrison the fortress at Longthorpe, Cerealis would have had no more than 2,500 men under his command. He led this massively outnumbered force in a desperate attempt to intercept Boudicca's army, estimated at around 100,000 before it could attack Londinium, the new administrative center of the province. As the legion marched to aid the colonists, it was ambushed in column formation, suffering a catastrophic loss of approximately 2,000 men, according to Tacitus. The remainder of the force, including the surviving cavalry, was forced to retreat. The 9th Legion endured greatly in Boudicca's revolt, a disaster Tacitus refers to as the Massacre of the 9th. Roman historians were often reluctant to record defeats in detail, and officials sometimes obscured the fate of vanquished legions to preserve morale. Yet the legion's honor remained intact, as its commander Quintus Petilius Cerealis was not removed from his post, indicating that both he and his men acted with distinction under overwhelming odds. The heroism and sacrifice of the 9th Legion were not in vain, as their delay of Boudicca's forces allowed Governor Suetonius Paulinus to assemble his army for a unified defense, culminating in the decisive Battle of Watling Street in AD 61. The years of AD 68 to 69 were a period of significant turmoil within the Roman Empire, as 4 claimants to the throne, Galba, Otho, Vitellius, and Vespasian, vied for power. Complicating matters, the legions stationed in Britain and throughout the empire often supported different contenders, and it remains unclear which candidate, if any, was backed by Legio IX Hispana. Around AD 70, Legio IX Hispana reappears in the historical record, this time in campaigns against the Brigantes and their leader, Venutius. Julius Agricola, commander of 20th Valeria Victrix, and Petilius Cerealis, commander of the 9th Legion, advanced northwards, likely confronting Venutius at Stanwick, considered the center of Brigantia around AD 72. Together, the 9th and 20th Legions decisively defeated the Brigantes. While the sources do not record the fate of Venutius, it is probable that he did not survive the campaign. Following this victory, the Ninth Legion likely continued operations to pacify the Brigantes, securing Roman control over the region. Under the new governor, Julius Frontinus, between AD 73 and 77, the legion focused on consolidating the newly conquered territory and began constructing a permanent base at Eboracum, modern York, designed to house the entire legion in comfort and facilitate long-term occupation. The Ninth Legion took part in Agricola's invasion of Caledonia, modern Scotland, in AD 82 to 83. According to Tacitus, the legion narrowly avoided destruction when Caledonian forces beyond the Forth launched a surprise night attack on their fort. The Caledonians, he writes, burst upon them as they were terrified in their sleep. In desperate hand-to-hand combat, the enemy briefly penetrated the camp, but Agricola swiftly dispatched cavalry reinforcements, allowing the legion to recover. Seeing the relief arrive, the men of the Ninth Legion regained their courage and, confident of their safety, fought for glory. They ultimately repelled the attackers, saving the fort from annihilation. At the Battle of Mons Gropius, the Ninth Legion was present but did not play a direct role, for the Roman legions were held in reserve, while the auxiliary troops bore the brunt of the fighting against the Caledonian host. After Agricola's recall from Britain, his conquests in Scotland were abandoned, and the army, including Legio IX Hispana, withdrew to the Bow-Tyne line. The Ninth Legion likely returned to Eboracum, modern York. There, the legion settled into routine frontier duties, patrolling, maintaining order, and rebuilding its strength after the hard campaigns in the north. Between AD 107 and 108, the Ninth Legion erected a monument honoring Emperor Trajan at their rebuilt fortress in York, a final proud gesture of loyalty and endurance. By around AD 120, the Ninth Legion was replaced by Legio VI Victrix, marking the end of its known presence in Britain and the beginning of one of Rome's greatest military mysteries. Archaeological evidence shows that elements of the Ninth Legion were stationed at Novi Omegus Batavorum, modern Nijmegen, in the Netherlands, sometime after AD 104. At first, this may have been a small detachment, but later, the full legion appears to have been present. The inscriptions found at Nijmegen, dating to around AD 120, stand as the last known records of the Ninth Legion, before it vanished from history. It vanishes from Roman records sometime between AD 120 and AD 197, absent from every list of legions after that date. Some believe it was destroyed in Britain, yet evidence tells a different story. Officers of the Ninth served long after AD 120, and signs of the legion appear along the Rhine. Others speculate its end came in Judea or perhaps in Armenia, but no proof has ever been found. Through centuries of hardship, the Ninth Legion endured decimation, mutiny, and brutal campaigns before it finally faded from history, earning the haunting name, the Lost Legion.